Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time zone you happen to be in. My name is Bill Lennon. I'm co-founder of the Heart Program, and this is 40% Better. 40% Better is a program to help companies consistently and repeatedly help employee engagement. We have found an operating system for employee engagement, and 40% Better is how people make that happen. To start with, you have to have good communication. That's number one. And this particular video is the very starting point, the baby steps, especially for people who, like myself, have struggled with being shy, being an introvert, maybe even social anxiety. I spent decades struggling with that. And through the skills that Heart Program teaches, I actually learned how to flip that around. I now talk with people all over the place, and I'm really happy doing public speaking, which is a complete reversal of where I was before. So let's jump into it and start talking about how you can start getting comfortable talking with strangers. I spent 25 years running software teams here in Silicon Valley, and they were notable because the high level of engagement that my teams continuously provided, as well as their productivity. One of the reasons that my teams did that was because I got over my shyness and my introversion. When you're in a leadership role, or you're thinking about a leadership role, or you want to advance your career, one of the most important things for you to do is to be able to talk to strangers, be able to talk with people comfortably, be able to be relaxed in conversations. I spent decades struggling with social anxiety and thinking that I was a shy introvert, and that was the way it was always going to be. Not so much. What I learned was that I wasn't a shy introvert, but instead I had some mental models, some beliefs that weren't supporting me very well, and I needed some skills and some practice to get comfortable and competent at talking with strangers. It's kind of approaching talking with strangers like we teach kids how to do math is really the model here. So what did I do? How did I do this? How did I go from being shy, introverted to public speaking? Well, the first thing is I didn't try and make that leap in one moment. I baby stepped my way up, and each time I did a little improvement in my comfort with talking with people, it was a tiny bit uncomfortable, but manageable. And that's one of the secrets to this, is to make the steps manageable, not so uncomfortable that it's a significant challenge to replicate over and over and over again. Because as we learned from homework when we were all in school, repetition is what drives competency at whatever it is we're doing. So the starting point for me was starting conversations with strangers. And the way that I did that, the way that I got started, and you may say, well, this is too easy. Great. Welcome to the world of baby steps. The first thing I wanted to do was to be able to walk into Starbucks and start a conversation with the barista. And people oftentimes go like, well, that's way too easy. Like, well, it might be easy for you, but it wasn't easy for me. And so here's what I did. I walked into Starbucks, I ordered a cup of coffee, and when I got it back, I asked the barista how their day was going. And whatever they said, I said, thank you, I hope the rest of your day goes well. And then I left. And then I congratulated myself for having done a rep. Now, you can repeat this, Starbucks, your local boba place, grocery stores, anything that's retail sales. The reason I picked that environment, those people are paid to be nice to you. And you want to have this be as easy as you possibly can, because that's the whole point of baby steps. It would be really easy to say, here, go do a TED Talk, right? You're not going to be able to do it. No offense, but that's too high a jump to go. So you want to baby step your way into this in little tiny pieces that are achievable every single day, right? That's one of the key pieces. We don't tell kids they're going to go from zero to calculus. We don't even tell them they're going to go from zero to the multiplication tables. we start off teaching kids how to count to 5. This is the exact same kind of a model because it works. Consistently, repeatedly, it works. And if a particular step is super easy for you, wonderful. Then you go on to the next step. So some skills to use on the way in. Number 1, you have to have the values and priorities to have it actually be important to you that you can talk with strangers. That has to actually be a thing for you. Because if it's not, then you're not even going to do the work, right? It's just like anything else in the world. So you have to have the value and priority to want to talk with strangers, to get ahead, networking, leadership, family, whatever it is. Me doing this, by the way, has dramatically transformed how I communicate with my kids and the relationship that I have with both my kids. That's a whole different set of videos. So number 1, values and priorities. Number 2, before you walk into or walk up to, depending on the context, the person you're going to talk with, do half a dozen long exhale breaths. And a long exhale breath slows your heart rate, drops your cortisol level. It's a calming breath practice that's been around for centuries. I did not invent this. When you do long exhale breath, inhale for a count of 3, maybe 4, depending on how you count those things. And then your exhale, you want to have 3 to 4 times longer. So if I inhale for a count of 3, I'm exhaling for a count of 12, right? When you do that slow exhale, it slows your heart rate down. This is a biological mechanism we have available. And slowing down your heart rate changes your brain chemistry and it reduces your stress level. You can use this anywhere. I do it all the time. I've made this a habit. So you do the long exhale breath that makes you calmer. Whatever the retail person is doing, how's your day going? That simple question. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And I still, every time that I go to the grocery store, every time I'm in a retail environment, I go to the hardware store, still go to Starbucks, get coffee, I keep doing this rep over and over again just to continue to have it be easy for me. So if I'm in a context where I'm networking with somebody, super easy, right? How's your day going? They're going to say something. In a retail environment, they're going to usually tell you something pretty decent, right? They're not going to give you bad news. And you say, well, thanks for sharing. Hope the rest of your day goes well. This is the starting point. Later on, you're going to be able to do things where you'll actually have a conversation. But for right now, just starting the conversation is the icebreaker, the critical starting point to get going. Now, when I started doing this, it took me about a dozen times to get pretty comfortable doing this. And it took me a dozen days of doing this, and I was doing it 1 or 2 times a day. Both of my kids, when they went back on campus to school after COVID lockdowns, they were both afraid of talking with strangers because they were both going to new schools when that happened. One was going to a new high school, the other was going to a new college. I taught them this process, and after a week, they were comfortable talking to strangers. It took me 2 weeks. Your time may vary. The important part is to get the reps in, to thank them when you get a response, and then to congratulate yourself when you leave. And that's it. And that's step 1. That's getting started. The next video will be, how do you have a 5 to 10 minute conversation? Remember, we're talking about baby steps. This isn't putting yourself in a place that's super uncomfortable. It's just about how do you baby step your way up the ladder to go from where I was, shy, introverted, arguably struggling with social anxiety, to I'll talk to anybody now. And it's super easy. And it's all because I learned the skills, I practiced, and with practice comes competency. That's it. 40% Better is all about teaching people all these kinds of skills. At the fundamental, it's how do you get employee engagement inside companies? And people can't engage if they can't have conversations. Hope you're having a good one. Thanks.